All right, let's talk about Trey Lance. A lot of scrutiny on him. We just talked about how he's going to get second guessed to death. Let's do a little second guessing. But I'm trying to think about it as like a coach in a positive way. If you were his coach and this is your project, what would you want to focus on, and what would you focus on to make sure that he reached his incredibly high ceiling?
It would probably be something along the lines of accuracy and ball placement. Let me explain though.
Yeah.
Completion percentage doesn't denote accuracy. And what I mean by that is not all catches are equal. If
Right.
a quarterback throws the ball at your ankles and he catches it, technically that's a completion, but that's not accurate. I need you in this offense, which is yak yards, everything, to put the ball exactly where it needs to be. Right here, and let your
If it's
guy
a
go.
slant, you put it 1 yard in
Right.
front. If it's a
So-
comeback route, you put it between the number. Like, yeah, all that kind of stuff. Can you do
Right.
that?
Right. Downfield accuracy it's still the hardest throw to hit, right? And the guy who hit it the most was Josh Allen at a 41% clip. That means 4 out of 10 times he hit those downfield throws, and he's considered one of the better deep ball throwers. So it's not a high percentage throw. So forget that part. Those are going to be hit. It's about the little, and I keep going back to the Houston game. It's like this is the tale of Trey Lance's season right here, capsulated in 2 plays. The play action play where he turns and Juszczyk standing at the sticks, ball is right in Juszczyk's chest.
Mhm.
And he turns and he gains more yards, first down.
Mhm.
Next play, he rolls out and he sees Ayuk and he tries to throw across his body, and that thing comes out like a frisbee and just lands like 5 yards in front of him. That's going to be the tale of Trey Lance throughout the season. You'll get the one throw, you're like, there it is. You'll get the other throw and you'll say, what the hell was that?
Right.
Yeah, what was that? So that's
intriguing about Lance to me, because it shows that he does it right some of the time. It's not like he's a freaking mess that just has his own way of doing things and he's never going to. He does it right a lot of the time. Now it's just about doing it right all the time.
Right. And
all the time.
One more thing that I want to point out that's a positive is a lot of people were discussing this throw to Deebo Samuel that a lot of people think is PI. He literally did what you are taught to do as a quarterback. And this is a kid who is not played football that long in the NFL. If you look and you have a concept on the left and you have your go route one-on-one with no press up top with your best receiver, you take that shot. You know who doesn't take that shot? Jimmy Garoppolo.
I like the decision. I like the throw.
Too. Yeah.
You know, if you've been a lot of people don't know, but they've been trying to work on the fade from Lance to Deebo all offseason, and it hasn't been there. Lance keeps overthrowing them in practice. Deebo, I don't think, is quite where he was last year yet. So Lance made an adjustment. He took a little off. I mean, he hit Deebo. Deebo wasn't streaking past Steven Nelson. I mean, there was a very small window to hit that, and I thought it was a pretty good throw. Maybe not perfect.
So completion percentage, that's an incomplete pass, but that's an accurate throw.
And a good decision.
Right? And a good decision. Again, stop throwing these completion percentage numbers at me, man. It is not quantified where this kid is right now in his steps, man. Like, that's the part that bothers me the most.
I'm with you, though. He needs to improve his accuracy, and I think, like, everyone knows that, but I don't think that Brian Griese necessarily has the answers. And to me, it's the fix is all footwork. When I look at him, it's a footwork thing from the ball placement to the wobble to the arm fatigue. And here's what I see. He has a tendency sometimes to overstride and lock out his front leg, which causes the ball to sail high. He doesn't do it all the time. And he's actually doing a good job of fixing it. If all he needs is that front foot to be soft and flexed and bent at first when he transfers his weight. Second thing, you can see this in the slow motion stuff. He doesn't always step to his target. So let's say he's throwing left. He will have his lower body pointing forward. And so he's throwing crossfire, which his lower body and upper body aren't really in sync. If they were, he'd be great. And when they're not, it's going to lead to arm fatigue and erratic ball placement. What happens when your lower body and upper body aren't in sync, your brain will correct mid-throw with your arm. And that'll lead to pain, soreness, injury eventually. So if he could just go to Jordan Palmer and get like a 3D mapping of his mechanics and just fine-tune it, because he's already on the way, he'll be Josh Allen. He can do it. It's fixable. Jimmy's problems are not fixable. Hey, throw downfield and be mobile and make better decisions. Never going to happen. Trey can do this. He just needs a good coach.
I don't want to be negative, but I don't think Brian Griese's that close to help.
I don't think he's that guy either.
But here's what Brian Griese is brought here for. Here's what he's brought here for. He's brought here to help him with the mental aspects and understanding what you're seeing, because that's all Kyle Shanahan talked about with Brian Griese, was how smart he was and everything. And I think that's really where he is helping Trey Lance, is When you see that alert route, when you see that one-on-one, okay, what is the defense giving you? You take that shot. And I think pre-snap, Brian Griese is helping him with that.
Sure.
I don't necessarily believe that he's here to help him with footwork or mechanics.
But Kyle would say, like, people be like, Kyle, how do you help a quarterback with his throwing mechanics? He's like, well, I don't really do that, but we do talk about footwork. Okay, Kyle, well, this is perfect. One thing that a good drill, I think, for Trey is throw the ball, finish your release, and then it's called walking off your throw. You finish, now walk to where your lower body is pointing and tell me if that's where you threw the ball. Because that actually drills it into his brain like, man, you got to sync these up. You're actually not pointing your lower body towards your target all the time. That's an easy way to fix it, man. I think his issues are super fixable. Super fixable.
And in the same regard, there's times where you look at his footwork and you look at the
And
throw and you're like, there it is. And there it is.
Good.
Like, it's just up and down right now. It's just inconsistent. And that's just going to be part of the growing pains right now.
Yeah, again, it's not like Kaepernick where it's like, man, you got so many years of bad muscle memory ingrained. You're never going to. Trey is ingraining it right now. And he's just on the path. He just needs focused, good coaching. This is what we're drilling every freaking day. That's all you got to do.
And that'll come. I mean, again, you can't just automatically lock onto the bad while dismissing the good footwork that he has on many of his throws. That's the other thing as well, too. It's like so many people.
Remember, he's from a small town, okay? Yeah. He didn't have all the – compare him and Josh Rosen, okay? Josh Rosen went to every freaking camp from like 13 years old on. He was a 5-star recruit. He has perfect mechanics. He's a terrible quarterback. If Trey Lance had that type of – development in middle school and high school, he would have been a 5-star recruit. He would have went to any school he went to, and he would be more mechanically developed by now. Josh Allen was the same way. He didn't have that upbringing. It happened to him in his 20s. He was still good enough to figure it out. I think Trey can too. He's just a little bit behind.
And I think all of those things that you mentioned are the reason that I'm so high on Trey's mental, because he's got that whole like me against the world. You guys didn't want me. I'm going to work my ass off because he's had to, right? He hasn't had anything handed to him. So again, mentally tough. That's the part that I'm going to point to. And that's why I think this whole him and Jimmy thing isn't going to be nearly as big of a deal as the media will portray it to be.
I want to give Brian Griese credit. Like last week, I put out the video being like, boom, the issue with the high passes is the footwork. It's his leg. It's his front leg. The entire last week, they worked on footwork in practice, in the drills. An entire week. So I appreciate, because Scangarello would do the same drills every day. I don't care. Do the same freaking drills every day. Griese's like, okay, let's try to fix it. So his heart's in the right place. He's just waiting for us to tell him what to do. So Brian, now you got to work on the front on stepping towards his target. That's because he has a little bit of tendency to crossfire, throwing to his left, not right. So Brian, I'm trying to help. Quality control.
Scangarello didn't want Trey. He wanted Max. So that's why he was just like, I don't care. I'm not gonna help
motions. Yeah. That's another thing. I feel like last year was a wasted year for Trey. So too bad. He should have been working with Brian Griese last year. You know what I mean? Or whoever.
Right.
Like all the stuff he learned from what's his face, is that applicable anymore? Flav says Jimmy's story has been so big, but the real story right now is Lance versus Fields. Not a big enough deal being made about this. It's a really big game for both. Fields had a nice third preseason game, right?
He's had a really nice preseason.
I really like him.
All right, we might as well talk about this. Yeah. Obviously, I wanted Justin Fields. Clearly, yes. I was absolutely fine though with Trey Lance, right? Like, in fact, if you remember, and we go back and we trace coast to coast history lesson, I first came to you about Trey Lance. And when we were on the show, I was like, yo, I like Trey.
Yeah.
Did a little digging, started watching Justin Fields, and I was like, damn. I was like, I want that kid because I felt that he was ready to play sooner. Right? Last year, he would have had
Trey. He's also a better athlete than Trey.
I don't want to get too excited.
Trey's a great athlete, but Justin Fields is faster and more accurate.
Look, here's the reason that this game is going to go the 49ers' way. They're coached better. They got a better team. That wide receiver 4 room of
Dante
Pettis and Byron Pringle, and like it's like the best wide receiver 4 room you've ever seen in your life. Doesn't necessarily strike fear in me, especially if Emmanuel Mosley and Charvarius Ward play. Justin Fields is going to show strides, and he should, because he has a new coach. But I really wish that they would have picked a coach that was offensive minded. Eberflus is more defense, so it's like. But at the same time, man, it's hard for me to not look at the strides that Justin Fields taking and say, damn, what if?
The one thing with Justin Fields is he tends to get sacked a lot.
I
mean, so does Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson. Doesn't mean he's not good, but I like the way Trey Lance steps up in the pocket and avoids pressure. I thought he'd be faster. He wasn't exactly as explosive and quick. Like Justin Fields was running circles around the Niners in that game. He had that touchdown scramble was crazy. I don't think Lance is going to have plays like that, but I think he might be a better quarterback at the end.
You know why that is, right?
Why?
Justin Fields' best game in the pros was against the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh.
And then Darnell Mooney comes out, I think it was this week, saying that Justin Fields has payback on his mind for the 49ers passing him.
Revenge tour, Chicago Bears.
I mean, he remembered, and I think that was. I think that he felt he was going to 3. He remembers. Remembers. I like it.
Good call. Josh Wyatt says Ambry made the team for one reason: a season-saving INT. Basically, the same reason Tart was let go, but Sermon has done nothing.
Nope. Sermon was let go because they love Hufanga. I mean, Tart was let go because they love Hufanga, and he was going to start. That's it. Had nothing to do. He could have intercepted that. They could have won a Super Bowl, and they would have still told Tart to go. Sorry.
Gio says this offense is going to wear down teams this year. Kyle has totally switched up his offensive philosophy by going from a more speedy backfield to a more power run game, arm tackle galore in fourth quarter. Yeah, that's his idea, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to run the ball 30, 40 times. This defense is never going to get behind 28-0 where they have to abandon the pass or anything like that. Again, Trey Lance is going to have his opportunities to grow. He'll have his bumps and bruises, but games are never going to be out of his reach. He's never going to get down 21-0 because the defense is getting cooked. Like, it's not going to happen.
You know what Kyle learned? That his run game isn't built to put away a game in the second half. He lost 2 big Super Bowls that he couldn't put away with his run game. Now he has a run game that's theoretically built to do just that. So give him credit. In my opinion.
I mean, and that's why Ty David Price is going to be here. That's why you're going to rotate those guys in and out, and you're going to have a bunch of fresh legs. That's why you keep 5 guys, because how many guys get injured all the time on this team? Elijah Mitchell was banged up all year. So was Jeff Wilson. Like,
Kyle never had confidence in Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman, Raheem Mostert to be those kind of guys with the lead in the second half of a Super Bowl. Theoretically, all these guys can do that. So that's good. You know?
Raheem Mostert's still fast. Shout out to him, man.
He was great in last year's preseason too. I just want to know how many games is he really going to play.